Well. Welcome everybody along to this impromptu episode of Boxing Asylum. We're doing a post-fight pod live special on the Eubank versus Ben number 2 live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What I'm looking at right now, Conor Benn is getting a kiss off the old lad. Some little lad called Jamie has a microphone in his face, and Eddie Hearn is laughing all the way to the bank. Ben Shalom is somewhere lurking in the background. Somehow there's been 40 million between the purses on these two fights, and this fucker's still wearing a cardigan instead of getting a suit on him for the biggest night of his life. And that might just be the highlight of what I've just seen. Hold on, Nigel Brenn's bringing the wife in for a little cuddle.
Ooh.
Listen, I don't know. Okay, I was trying to. Me and the missus were watching this together. I was trying to work out exactly how long I've been watching boxing and what was the first fight I ever saw. I have clear memories of watching McGuigan versus Pedroza, but I do have a sneaky feeling I saw Hagler and Hearns in real time in '83. But I'm saying all that to say this: I've been watching boxing over 40 years, and that felt a little bit airy for me. I'm not saying the fix was in, but I'm saying if they had a third fight with a rehydration clause for Eubank, it'd be easier to sell out the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium again for round 3 of this dross. Um, Eubank looked like he didn't try. He looked emaciated. The highlight of Eubank's performance was the mini 50 Cent concert on the way to the ring. There's a lot to unpack here. I'm just going to give my thoughts briefly on this before I throw it over to the rest of the guys on the panel. If that's what we're getting from Riyadh season, if that's what we're getting from Turkey Al Sheikh, if that's what we're getting for, if that's the climactic point of all this fucking saga that we've had with Ben popping for clomiphene and Pierce Morgan and the fucking first fight where Eubank reunites with the dad, they actually gave us a decent fight. Eubank never tried his ass in this fight, and nobody's going to be able to convince me otherwise. Um, that's my brief thoughts on it. It looked like they're clearly setting up a third fight where the two of them can cream another 20 million off the public.
Yeah, let some
Um,
fucking poor fucker who's not me pay money for that goddamn fight.
I
Jesus
love you bad,
Christ.
Karen. Marry me, Karen. Look at this shades of fucking marry me, Karen here in the ring at the moment. So listen, I'm going to get to long-time panelist Steve Wellington first for his thoughts on this. Steve, what did you see? Were you with me? Did you think the fix was in here and it was a little bit spooky looking, or is Eubank just that emaciated and weight drained that he can't seem to be bothered to throw a jab to try and keep Conor Benn off him for 12 rounds? What did you see?
I don't even know what I was seeing, Rob, to be honest with you, man. I mean, you only ever one sort of move away from the fix in this sport. And I've got caught in a bit of a casual loop tonight, actually. One of my casual mates, he's a good guy. Like, he watches the boxing on and off. He's kind of messaging me back and forward and saying, oh, what do you think? Blah, blah, blah. And I says, oh, they're going to do the third fight. No, they're not to the third fight. Conor's going to move on. And I'm like, well, move, the way you're not supposed to respond to them. Like, that's the rule. I guess, move on to what? Anyone decent does him? Anyone decent does him in? He's named 3 names.
The pathway to greatness for these guys. Like.
He's named 3 names. I haven't responded to that because I'm like, yeah, he's always calling out names. You get caught in the casual grip, man. But I'm gonna have to let him go there. But I mean, it was just shit. I know we moan on here and all, man. But the first fight I thought was sloppy, but it was an exciting fight, and it felt like there was flows and momentum back and forward. I just thought this was a terrible, sloppy fight. Eubank, I don't know what he was thinking, man. He just looked weak and cautious. We all know about the weight, but even his thought process, there was no uppercuts whatsoever. He was losing the battle of the jabs. Eubank looked to me like James DeGale looked when they fought back in the day on ITV.
Yeah.
Like he was just trying to get through the 12 rounds, Rob. That's what he looked like to me. He was biting on all the feints. He's always been a sort of fit, solid guy. Everything was he was slow to get back into his shape, and Ben was just picking up the rounds as we were talking off air there.
I thought he looked like Terence Crawford, Steve, but if Terence Crawford had cerebral palsy.
Look more like Michael Crawford. There's a UK reference for you that the older listeners will get.
Well, it was certainly a phantom performance. If you
the Phantom of the Opera, man. I tell you what, Ben was just picking up the rounds with extra energy, Rob. That's all he was doing. He was bouncing up and down. The optics favoured him. Every time Eubank shipped half a shot, he looked ragged, disorganised. He was sending a message to the judges. He was being outworked, really, and that's what I saw, man. I mean, it's terrible.
Crap. He's all crap.
Yeah. It felt like 12 rounds went by and nothing happened. It looked like like a spar. It looked like for the first 6 rounds, like Eubank was carrying him. Honestly, why is Eubank not holding the center ring against the guy who's a fucking midget, regardless of rehydration clauses or emaciation? And you had like the commentators. Obviously, we have to give a moment to Bean, who was absolutely on rare form tonight. Holy shit! Remember that night in November. Here comes Emma Bunton. Fucking hell, he's had a fucking mare tonight, but him and the comms were propping this up. Anybody else would have booed these out of the ring. It was fucking horrific. I'm gonna go to Days on this next. Days, are you with us, by the way? Sorry.
Yes, mate, I'm here. Can you hear me okay,
Days
Rob?
is here. Yeah, I can hear you, Duke, loud and clear. I'm gonna point to the fact that it looked like, because you're an experienced boxer, did you see Eubank land with full extension throughout the whole night? It looked like he was pulling the shots a little bit. I don't want to fucking sell this fixed narrative, but something feels airy here to me, and I'm looking for reassurance here. Did you see what I was seeing? It looked like
Yeah,
Eubank wasn't even extending his hands when he was throwing the shots or turning his hands over. What did you see?
I saw two very average kids, and one of them was absolutely slaughtered by cutting weight for so many years. And I think that's what you get when you try and sell us an Oscar versus Floyd, or a Hagler versus Hearns, or a Bud versus Canelo, but you give us two kids that really, between them, could probably pick up a British title on a good day. And that's what
Or
you've
as
got
Ben
here.
versus Eubank, Days, that you saying?
Yeah, I mean, they're regurgitating a 40-year rivalry. I remember the original; it was brilliant, and they're still trying to flog it. The first one, I thought, was a very average show. I thought it was very basic. Two kids that didn't know how to land shots, didn't know how to turn their hands over, couldn't hurt each other, didn't know how to set traps, didn't know how to cut each other off. But this one, we had an even worse version, because I thought Eubank was really bad. I think he looked like someone there that for the last 4 or 5 years had been playing around with a weight. And I think at the start of this, Rob, this looked like an exhibition, like two kids that had
Yeah.
gone into a prison, or two kids that was in a secondary school trying to show people what boxing looks like. That's what it looked like to me. But I think as the fight went on, I've got to believe in boxing a little bit, and I want to come back to that point about believing in boxing. I wanted to believe this wasn't a fiddle, and these two kids are genuine. But I think what you just had was a very basic pair of lads that one of them was emaciated, one of them that slaughtered his body by cutting weight for so many years. I think Steve made the reference that Eubank looked like DeGale. Absolutely right. I think this version of Eubank looked like the one that got absolutely slaughtered by Liam Smith that night. I don't think we'll ever see Eubank in a ring again. I don't think he can do it, and I don't think the British public would suffer it.
You don't
But
think 20 million at 163 brings him back?
I don't think anyone's mug enough. Even His Excellency isn't mug enough to do that. I can't imagine. I mean, how does Emma Bunton get a ticket for this one? I mean, Guy Ritchie, like what's she done for the last 15 years? But anyway, like they brought them all out, and when you're talking about
50
people
must have
that
got the biggest payday of the night, by the way. He's not getting out of the. You don't think he's rolling? I wouldn't have even said he'd know who fucking Chris Eubank Jr. was when he got the offer for that fight, for that fucking ring walk, by the way. Anyway,
but
sorry.
let's be clear, Rob. On this show, on this pod, none of us have looked forward to this one. None of us. Me, you, Justin, Matty, Stevie. None of us have wanted this. We've all kind of thought, we've got to recover it. We've got to report on it, and all week I've stayed away from it. All week I've not been interested in the pressers. I've not been interested in the videos, the interviews. I've not been impressed with. I've not watched the weigh-in. I watched tonight because I knew we was going to do a pod on it, and you've got to be informed. But I could have done without it, and I thought it was a really poor show. I didn't like the things I was seeing. I couldn't stand the commentary. I didn't like the two lads at the end. I just thought, you know what? This is everything I've grown not to like about boxing, and I really hope we can draw a line under this now, because I don't think the show's been a good look. Me and Steve and we was all talking about this tonight. Certain things tonight we didn't like. There was a lot of optics that I didn't really go for. That performance was terrible. And I think if we could just draw a line under this now and move on, because to go back to something you said at the start of this, if this is what Riyadh's season has given us, this is what all the money's about, if this is what everything's brought us to, it's been a little bit of a sham, in my opinion.
Definitely.
But
I agree with that.
the majority
Sorry,
of
Matty, I'm going to come.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Matty, go ahead. No, sorry, I'd agree with the bulk of what Des is saying, and we give these two the benefit of the doubt that this was a genuine contest. I said last week that I thought the emaciated version of Eubank actually struggled a little bit when Conor Benn was catching him with some shots. He didn't seem to even really catch him with anything tonight. So, Justin, I know you were streaming, or sorry, not Justin, Maddie. I'm going to come to you after this, Justin. But Maddie, you were streaming this one. You're normally a betting man. Did this play out how you thought it would play out in
Fuck
terms of the
no. Fuck no.
results? Because a lot of the bet, what I mentioned in that for is there was a stat published on X or on Twitter in the last 2 days where it said 78% of the money down on this fight was on Ben for the win or a draw, which immediately set my spidey senses tingling. And I had fucking edged towards Ben for this result just because I thought they were going to set up a trilogy anyway. But what did you think from when you were watching it play out?
I thought that this fight wasn't going to go the distance because I thought either Eubank was going to come in decent shape and size would tell, or he'd be weight drained and Ben would just get the fucking job done. Lo and behold, I was half right because he was absolutely freaking weight drained. But Conor Benn unable to get the job done, of course, fucking useless as he is. But I gotta tell you, is the movie Major League too much of a niche reference for you guys? Is that too American, or do you guys know?
Absolutely not. It's the beginning of Charlie Sheen and Wesley Snipes.
So you think, I think it was the second one. Think of Randy Quaid when he got pissed off at Wild Thing and he started, yelling out, "Wild Thing, you make my butt reek." Bring out the pooper scooper. If Riyadh's season is the bulk of boxing, is it okay that I just feel that way about boxing now? Like, at this point in fucking time, is this the best you can do? This on fucking pay-per-view? And not just for, the usual 20-pound, 25-pound fare that they randomly put on over there. No, $60 fucking in the United States. The same they wanted for a fucking prospect to fight a washed-up heavyweight former contender. Fuck this. I mean, my lord, what is this the best goddamn shit they can give us? I mean, we're like, I'm sure there's other podcasts that are out there talking about, is this redemption for Conor Benn? Oh, wow, what's next? Who fucking gives a fucking
Nobody
shit?
cares.
Yeah, seriously. A fucking pooper scooper on these fucking guys.
Well, Matt, you know what you said. The point of it is that the Riyadh season is fucked because they said they were going to bring us the best. Now they're starting to take money grabs, so that means they're about to get out. This season will eventually fucking end. I mean, it's lasts like 12 years, but they're going to end it because if they start doing money grabs, where's the big shit we're supposed to be getting? They hit you hard at first, and now they're bringing us this shit at the end.
Yeah, they're like fucking drug dealers.
Yeah, they're getting you hooked, and then all of a sudden now they're making.
Well, let's stop bringing up their good points. Fucking.
I don't want to ruin the good name of drug dealers here.
Oh, no.
Look at this, and it's a seeds for Conor Benn. He's been through so much. He was labelled a drug treat when he was actually a drug treat, and he managed to rob the bank and get 40 million despite never having fought near world level.
The bad thing about it is this fight is the way I thought the first one was going to go. I thought the first fight would be shit and it would be weight drained. I didn't think the second one would be like this, but then I thought Ben was going to knock him out. I was close.
Well, nobody thought that Victor Conte was going to die before the fight happened. God damn it.
That's why Eubank wasn't ready.
Rest in peace. So when you're talking about Justin, I wanted to come to you on this because you said that Riyadh season, this could be the end. I'm not so sure about that because His Excellency has just invested 36 million in a 3-fight deal with Devin Haney. So God knows what way this one's going to go. Let's hope that Brian Norman can let his hands fly next Saturday night.
Well, I know where I'm putting my fucking money in that fight now.
God help us. We all pray. Hey, this is the asylum for Brian Norman.
Hey, and I'm I don't want to throw any aspersions out there or any real hard accusations. But I would just like to remind everybody, and there is a trend if you've been looking, Devin Haney is a practicing Muslim. Just fucking saying, there's a trend.
Well, I was going to say that we can't be bought. After that comment, I'm going to say we won't be bought by a rehab season
No,
going forward for them.
I love pork, Rob. I'm not willing to make such a commitment in life. They can take sausage and bacon from my cold dead fucking hands.
Okay. You're talking to
Good
an
luck,
Irish
Rob.
lad here. I was raised on bacon and cabbage on my dad. For the record, my dad was a butcher, so I'm sure I can't fucking fairly comment in this argument. I remember one time I did tell him I wanted to be a vegetarian because someone in school gave us a lecture on animal cruelty, and he said, "That's cool. Where the fuck are you going to get your food out of? I'm a butcher." Um, but my dad, who's not long past, would be spinning right now looking at this fucking shit. By the way, wasn't a big fan of the two dads either.
Oh,
But
really?
no. Wasn't a big fan of the two dads. No, said that they would have got fucking killed if they had gone to America. This is all optics. Rod Stewart didn't seem like a great fan of this when he was on the sideline. There seemed to be a lot, Justin, I'm going to come to you next. There seemed to be a lot made about the production of this fight. We had the 50 Cent, we had the drummer boys, the little drummer boys, per up a pom pom, going to the ring with Conor Benn. We had 50 who got fucking pulled out of fucking nowhere with a big bag of money to do a little mini concert on the way to the ring with Chris Eubank, which was the highlight of his performance. We had Rod Stewart, we had Jason Statham, we had Guy Ritchie and Pierce Brosnan. So anybody that Guy Ritchie knows, we had ringside. We had Emma Bunton, we had Rod Stewart.
Baby
Um,
Spice.
yeah, Emma Bunton is here. Bean was
Where was
particularly
Mel B?
fucking. Where
Yeah.
was Mel B when you need her? Well, there
Yeah.
was no Andrade on this card. I'm sure she would
You
have been
got to
there
call
too.
her Emma. You got to call her Emma Bunting now because middle-aged Spice doesn't sound as sexy.
Yeah. Menopause Spice. It doesn't have the same ring to it for sure. Justin, quickly with you, what were you with the same? Were you kind of sharing the same opinion on the fight as a contest, and how did you see it going before the fight, and how did it play out compared to what you thought beforehand?
Well, like I said earlier, I thought the way they fought tonight is how the first one was going to go. That Eubank would be a skeleton and he would be dead. I was right. It's just the second fight. I thought Ben was going to knock him out, and it shows if Ben can't knock out a dead man, then he's not going to knock out anybody out. And so I kind of thought he would stop him. He almost did. If it would have been the 11th round when he'd have knocked him down, he would have stopped it. They would have jumped in. Eubank looked like shit. I think this was a cash grab on him. I think his whole goal was to finish the 12 rounds. I think that's all he thought about. You could tell from round one until the end, he was like, I'm just going to finish. I'm not getting knocked out by this guy. I'm not going to probably beat him. I'm not even going to open myself up, but I'm not going to get knocked out by him. And that was what he did.
He wouldn't commit to anything, would he?
No, he didn't. He knew if he.
Sure, that was like me at the end. Let's just get through the 12 rounds.
Because if Eubank actually had committed more, he probably would have got stopped. He would have just got opened up more. He knew that. He wasn't stupid. I think everybody in his corner, that's what I always hate about these fucking liars. The whole build-up, the whole coming out with 50 Cent, they all knew what was going to happen. Bomac, they're not stupid. You think Bomac didn't know that his fighter was fucking washed? The man has trained one of the best fighters ever. He knew he was washed. Eubank's dad knew he was washed. They all knew it. They were just like, you're going to have to get through it. You can't not show up. You got to get that money. Finish it. Go out there. Just don't get knocked out. It was
the thing about this is, I agree with you. The thing about this is, it feels like they were dragging it out to do the trilogy, right? So what happens is they say Bean will come out tonight and he'll go, Eubank was emaciated. He had to, of course, make that rehydration clause, which took so much from him, Darren Barker. What do you think of Darren? I go, oh, yeah, he took so much from him. Maybe we should see the third fight. And in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I'll hear the money ringing in their ears. And they'll do this again. And they'll get Emma B back and fucking all these fucking Cockney celebrities back ringside. And we might see this farce again. I wouldn't rule it out. I definitely won't be watching it or covering it if it fucking happens again.
Let's make that deal. Let's make that deal. If they decide to make a trilogy fight, we will participate in no way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
we'll pass.
I'm with that.
We'll pass over it like it was a fucking small hall card in Somalia.
Hey, listen, you're talking to a guy who was walking the dog in a field in a hurricane when Martin Murray and Billy Joe Saunders had their fight, and we did a post-fight pod on that. I was there, fucking dedication to the sport, but I can't sit through another fucking 12 rounds of this shit, and I'll tell you that for nothing. And I tell you what, Bellew might have had a fucking chin when he was a fighter, but you can't see it now. This fucker's eating fucking off the fucking Riyadh money as well. You can't even see his fucking big face on him there, fucking selling the narrative. Although he's not as fucking he doesn't seem to command as much bandwidth these days in the modern era, Bellew. In terms of his opinion, he talks a lot of shit, just nobody hears it because it's pay-per-view on the zone. My missus had a couple of crackers. She stayed up to watch the fight with me tonight. She saw Eddie Hearn appear on the screen after the Catterall and Esserman fight, and she said, "Evening, Ed," in true pod style. And then when
Yes.
Eubank made his ring walk, she said, "I have that jacket." But that was about the highlight of it for me in the whole fight. Days, I'm going to come to you. What's next for Conor Benn? Because Eddie has been hanging his hat on the Conor Benn roadshow for a long time.
Yeah.
Eddie has backed him when he went through his drug scandal. Eddie has the PR contacts to get him in front of Piers Morgan, where he's threatening that he's going to off himself if people don't believe him, that the clomiphene in the system wasn't caused by excessive egg use. He made an argument for him being a star when he acquitted himself pretty well in the first fight. Now he's got that all-important victory over the Eubanks after 35 years of hurt. As he's talking about it like it's the World Cup, and he fucking been
Yeah.
35 years of hurt. The Baines have finally got a win over the Eubanks. I'm going to come back to you on a side note, by the way, on the dad, Nigel Benn, because I remember him commenting on Chris Eubank Sr. years ago when Eubank Jr. was on the rise and telling the dad to just back off and let the son do his own thing. This fella's like fucking all in the videos, as Suge Knight once said. But we're looking at scenes of Conor Benn celebrating in the dressing room now. Surely the world is his oyster now. Where next for him? There's a couple of big money fights for him. Where would you see, if you were looking at it from a pure boxing point of view, where would you see Conor Benn going next?
I think they're gonna, that version of Conor Benn tonight didn't give much away. Pretty basic, half decent feet, kept distance, half decent jab. I think you'd put that kid in with a Lewis Crocker. I think that's his best opportunity to win a world title. And I say that because I don't think he beats Lewis Crocker, but I think they can sell that. And I think that won't expose Conor Benn. Even if he loses, he won't get badly exposed. I don't think Crocker's a huge puncher. I think Benn's tough enough to go in there with a Crocker. And I think that's the one that doesn't expose Benn. I think if you go to anyone else at 47, I think Benn would get exposed. And I also think that that's the cash grab of the division as well. I think you could really sell Benn and Crocker in London. I think that could really be a seller. And I think Ben's probably earned so much money from his last two fights. I think you've got to keep him at a certain level financially now, otherwise he won't do it. So looking at all the different types of machinations around where Conor Benn goes, and if he's still to fight, I think Lewis Crocker somewhere in London would be a sell, and it would probably tick a few boxes. I still don't think he beats Lewis though, but that's just my opinion from the outside looking in.
Well, maybe
Dave,
other things are going to end up beating Lewis.
what do you think
Sorry.
about Haney though? What do you think about him fighting Haney? Because even though Haney's a good boxer, I feel like he's got no chin, right? Do you think he's got a shot against Haney?
Are you asking me, mate?
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
don't think.
sorry, introduce yourself here. Who the fuck is this coming in on the chat? Fucking hell. Is this
Hi,
Chukwu?
guys.
It is Chuck Wu.
The one, look, hold on. We have to give Chukwu his proper fucking introductions. By the way, early in the mix by Chukwu standards, he's here right on time, as Black Box once said. Jason Chukwu.
He's here to
Give me
talk
your
about
opinions
Dave
on the
Allen
fight.
from the other week.
Let's not go to Haney first of all. What did you think of the fight overall, Chukwu? We're delighted to have you on. Obviously, fucking stalwart of the boxing asylum chat. Delighted to have you on and get your opinions. What did you think of the fight? Did you see it the way the rest of us saw it, or did you have something different to say?
Cheers,
I'm
lads.
still
Cheers, lads. Yeah, no.
in the snooker club in Woolwich, and I was just watching the fight. And did anyone see Pernell Whitaker come back alive? You know what I mean? Conor Benn was looking that sleepy. You know. When he definitely
like Sweet Pea now, you mean?
Sweet pea against when you got robbed in France. Yeah. I just can't believe it. But now you lot are talking, it makes sense that the fix was probably in because Eubank looked like Freddie Mercury on AIDS, man. So
Delighted to have you on board, Jason. We're always trying to move the algorithm, and
yeah.
we're fucking delighted that you're here. Yeah,
Um,
I'd agree with you in terms of Haney. Chukwu, Ben has kept Haney's name in his mouth, certainly, and we know that Turkey has recently invested 36 million in a 3-fight deal with Devin Haney. Brian Norman Jr. seems to be a stepping stone in that path. Certainly, maybe they're setting up a fight with Conor Benn, maybe a big London fight. Because I agree with Des, Conor Benn's not going to go back to earning peanuts with the likes of Mario Barrios or Rolly Romero or these characters. He's going to need somebody to prop it up. That fight's in Riyadh as well next week, isn't it? Haney's fight. So you'd expect him to come through that and maybe set up Haney versus Ben. What do you think?
yeah, I mean, I'll probably happen. But the thing is, let's be realistic. Is Ben even on that level, though? It's not. Ben and Eubank, they're barely British level. I'll be
No,
honest.
he. I would agree with you. He's definitely not on that level. But we're talking about him in terms of it doesn't really matter what level he's on because his second name is Ben, isn't he? And he's Eddie Hearn's mate. Like so.
Hearn can get him fights, you know what I mean? Look at Buatsi. What's he done since he left Hearn? His career's gone to shit, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, fuck all.
Why does
Fuck all we're talking about.
I don't even watch boxing on Sky Sports anymore because Hearn it's gone to shit since Eduardo's left. So Hearn will do what Hearn will do. You know? I've got a lot to say in there, but I don't know how to express it. You know what I mean? I just
You
can't
can
believe.
express it, Chukwu. This is your forum, dude. The floor is yours. Feel free
You're with
to speak
friends.
before I ring it.
What
Yeah,
can I,
exactly. You're with the gang here.
the thing is, because when I talk, I'm just going to go on one of them spectrum behavior rants, isn't it? So I want to keep on topic because I've got something to say about Anthony Yard, in next week.
All right, well, go ahead with your Yard topics, and then we go back to. I'm going to bring Steve Wellington back in here. Go ahead with your what did you want to say about Yard before we go in a different direction?
Can we just talk about what Frank Warren's done for Yard is like what Mourinho done for Man United when he was managing. Like he's got him fights that you don't even deserve. Yeah. And does anyone think Yard's going to be competitive next week?
No.
Well, the thing about Yard is he's very he has got an exciting style in that he's very dynamic and he can punch a bit. Now we know about his relationship with his trainer. I think the trainer is a bit of a bullshitter. I think that's been shown in the fight versus Kovalev and the fight versus Lyndon Arthur. And you think on form, certainly that the result doesn't go any different. But he did have moments in both of those fights. He showed in the rematch with Arthur when he bit down and he made some changes and he gave Kovalev a good account of himself in that fight up until the point that he got knocked out. If he got Benavidez going with more experience, could he take him out? I don't know. I think Benavidez is a monster. I don't know if Yard can do anything with him, but I think he gets fights, Chukwu, to answer your question. I think he gets fights because he has an exciting style and he can punch a bit. Well,
Yeah, but
anyway, we'll save that one up because we're strictly in post fight pod mode at the moment.
I could
Steve,
waffle
I
on
wanted to
about
bring.
Yard. Let me waffle on next week. Tomorrow's show. I'll talk about
Yeah,
Yard.
come on tomorrow, of course, dude. You're always welcome. You can come on
But even
anytime. There's
but
no
today,
worries.
I can't believe that what I saw. Like Ben was looking at sweet peas, and it makes sense what you're saying. Maybe the fix was in because like Ben has never ever looked at that ever, and
Ben,
Eubank fucked away, and it's like, how is he paying for a trainer all that money to do that? So it makes me
well,
think,
both one fella to come. I'm going to bring Steve in there now, but one fella who will definitely be happy, Steve, is with the relationship is friend of Days and friend of the pod, Bomac. He's got a massive payday there to come in and basically say, "Listen, pal, I don't give a shit what you've done for the first 11 rounds. 12th round is here now. You got to have the round of your life. Good night." It certainly looked like he's cashing in there and collecting a nice paycheck or a nice percentage. Do you think this is the end for Chris Eubank Jr.? And if it is the end for him, Steve, what do you think his legacy is? Because I'll give my own views on it when we're wrapping up. But what do you think Chris Eubank Jr.'s legacy is as a professional prize fighter?
I hope it's the end for him. I don't think it will be, though. I think he'll try. I don't think he'll want to go out that way. As for his legacy, I've said it before on the pod, and I'll kind of stick to this. It's been a money-making legacy. I think he's optimised his abilities to the nth degree. He's optimised his surname to the nth degree, and that includes these 2 fights with Ben. He's always been on the periphery of relevance to me. He's never actually stepped forward. And the odd time he has against George Groves, Billy Joe Saunders, he found out what the kind of upper echelons of the divisions are actually like, and he got dealt with. And then he was so close, wasn't he, in America to having that Charlo fight, and then he fought Korobov, and then he disappeared and came back to the UK because we talked about De Gea earlier. Same with Arthur Abraham. All these guys, he got them on at the tail end of their careers. He got the names on his record, but every time he fought anybody who was at the peak of their powers, and now at the end of his career, he's not at the peak of his powers, and Ben's kind of scalped his name. I think he's made a lot of money. I think he's done very well for himself. But as for a boxing legacy, I mean, it's nowhere near his contemporaries. It's nowhere near like his sort of old man's. He's got his toughness, he's got his fitness, he's got his heart. But yeah, he's never stepped forward and said, right, I'll fight, I don't know, you know what I'm like for the names. And Alan Cannuli, now, say for now, or Lara or somebody like that, or the equivalents 10 years ago. So for me, yeah, he's made his money, but I want to see him retire. And I think I'm not really a big fan of him. I know people prefer Eubank, and I do too, out of these two, but that's just because Ben is so insufferable. I think Eubank's a prick as well. I'm not fussed on either of them. I don't like either of them. And talking about Bomac, actually, Rob, just before I finish up here, it's just strange to see him in the corner. It was a strange night all round. I mentioned before, round 3, Turkey was on the phone. We mentioned it off air as well. In the undercard fights, without getting too off topic, they're pissing with blood, they're beating the snot out of each other, and everyone's hugging at ringside. Nobody seems to give a shit about the boxing. Why did the camera keep zooming in on David Adelaide all the time? We saw Emma Bunton, we saw Pierce Brosnan, then it was David Adelaide every time at the end of it. Why are we pushing him? And as for Bean, just consistently ruins everything he touches, man.
Yeah,
He's just absolutely horrific. He's just horrific. Rob, he kills my enjoyment of boxing.
To answer someone in the chat that said, "Are you still happy to see Bean back, Rob?" I was like, I don't know, but right, what is the alternative? Like, you get some fucking drip who's fucking, do you know what I mean? Like Darren Barker and fucking Carl. God, Jesus Christ, like fucking hell.
They're terrible, aren't they?
Yeah, oh my
Can I just
God.
say, Rob, as well, I'm not the only Steve on the call, so I feel like I might have took the other Steve's place. That's not me duplicating, I don't think. So just to make you aware, there seems to be another person on.
Okay, so you're gonna have to. I'm on the mobile, so you're gonna have to. Somebody's gonna have to make me aware of who else has joined us. So, with that being said, Steve, speak now. The other Steve, the real Steve, speak now or forever hold your peace.
What's going on?
What's
going on, guys? What's going on? Yeah,
Excellent.
no, good
Thanks a million for
well,
joining us. What did you think of the contest? Did you share the same views as the panel, or did you have your own view of it? What did it look like to you?
yeah, it was disappointing. I mean, yeah, it was disappointing. I actually thought, from what I was hearing, Eubank was doing well in sparring and all this stuff, but he was clearly weight drained, completely gone. Like he shouldn't have been there tonight at all. And I think what's disappointing is the reality is this night was for the casuals, right? Like the pay-per-view products are what we sell to casuals. And this is when they watch boxing. They don't watch the fights that we watch. They watch these big nights, right? And then when you serve them that shit, it's just not good all round. Do you know what I mean? So that was disappointing. I was hoping he'll be a bit better, but yeah, he was weight drained. He shouldn't have been there at all. But yeah, I agree with Steve as well. Like I think Conor Benn is just so cringe, man. Like that guy is just the cringiest guy. Like there's just something about him I just don't take to. So I kind of wanted
it's like trying to
knock
work
him
out who do you like better between Stalin and Hitler, isn't it? Between these two, like.
No, they're worse.
Hitler's all right. No, I'm joking. No, he's something
There's one for
cringe
the
about
intro.
him. But yeah, there's something so cringe, dislikable about him. So I did want Eubank to win, but yeah, he was just finished. Shouldn't have been there. And I think also Eubank, he's always been about the money. He's just always been about the money. He's never really cared about like the boxing side or anything like that. So I think for him, he was just like, got to take the money tonight kind of thing.
That's a
I
really
really hope
good
there's
point,
not.
Steve. Because I'm looking at these two, right, and we're looking at two average guys whose biggest wins are what? What's Conor Benn's biggest win without Eubank? His biggest win is fucking
Chris Algieri, probably.
Chris Algieri when he was juiced to the gills.
Oh, I'm going to
Eubank's
say, when
biggest
he was
win is
boiling the
maybe
eggs, man. Yeah.
yeah. Eubank's
Exactly.
biggest win is probably Liam Smith. Maybe is it like the Liam Smith rematch? I think the bigger pity is that Eubank never won a version of a world title, because I think out of the two fighters, he was probably the one that was closer to world level. But these are two club fighters who've robbed the bank for 40 million, like, and us fucking morons as fight fans are the ones who have to pick up the can here, like, and watch this shit and cover it. Steve, I think one of the other listeners pointed to the right direction in terms of Conor Benn next, in terms of Devin Haney. We saw in some of the sound bouts and that he's calling out Haney. He seems to be very disparaging about Haney anytime he's mentioned. Do you think with Turkey on board that that's the next move for Conor Benn, that Eddie be looking for the winner of this Devin Haney Brian Norman fight, or they'll
I
go
think
for
I think
trying to do a world title with Mario Barrios? Mario Barrios beats the shit out of Conor Benn, by the way. Whether he gets the decision or not is another thing. But for me, Mario Barrios beats Conor Benn.
I think Des is right. I think Crocker makes the most sense because that's a product you can package, you can sell, and he's actually got a good chance of winning that, and probably his best chance of winning the title. I also think he could catch Haney because Haney's not really got a chin, even though he's a much better boxer. I think he's got half a shot against Haney, but I think any of the other guys he'll struggle with. But I think with Eddie now, he's going to match him very, very carefully. He's not gonna just throw him in there because obviously with Matchroom now, they don't have many stars anymore. Like obviously AJ's coming towards the end. So
Well, they've only
now
got
it's like
him,
they
haven't
need
they?
to kind of
AJ's on the way. AJ's about to cash out on with Jake Paul, which is a fucking whole other fucking story there. But
What
they've
about
really
Jack Catterall?
fucking stop with you. I'm really excited about this being said a few weeks ago about Jack Catterall. Actually turned out to be a
But that's it.
decent
They've
fight.
got no one, right? Like if you take away who have they got? And even now, if you look at Frank's got the heavyweight division on Smack. So it's like who's Eddie got now? He's only got like Conor Benn. Then he's trying to thing with Ben Whitaker or whatever. So I think with Conor Benn, he'll be very, very careful about where he puts him in next. Try and cash him out as much as money. Wants to get all his money back for all the other fights. So yeah, I think they'll be careful about how they match him.
Actually, that's a good shout. He has Ben Whitaker, and I think he's probably going to put the fucking house on Ben Whitaker being a crossover star if he decides to stay in boxing. Maybe has other interests outside of boxing. I recently heard that he's separated from his wife, so he might want to be just, you know what I mean, retired and low key. Maybe he has no interest in any other fighters. Evening, Ed. How the hell are you? But brilliant. Thanks for that, Steve. Thanks a million for jumping on with us. If any of the other nutters or anybody else in the group wants
Cheers,
to,
lads.
or any of the other listeners want to jump on with us, stay on by all means. I'm not gonna spend all night because I know we have another pod on tomorrow night. Quickly on the chief support, my main man Matty DJ Leonardo.
I
Hope
didn't
I
get to see
pronounced that
anything
well.
else. I saw.
You didn't see anything. You were streaming, weren't you? Okay,
Yep. Yep.
I go to Steve Wellington on this one then. Steve, Jack Catterall under Bozy Ennis, from the mean streets of Charlie to the mean streets of West Philly. How did you assess Catterall's performance versus Esserman, who was very game, perhaps started slow for me, got busted up? Is there something missing with Catterall? Like Catterall seems to have everything and have nothing at the same time. Am I alone in that assessment, or what do you see?
No, I think there's definitely something missing with Catterall, but I feel like he's just on the verge, Rob. He's, at this stage of his career, he's just on the verge of discovering what it is. That's what we keep being told all the time. And I think it's a bit of an indictment on the Matchroom stable, I suppose, that he's kind of getting these big opportunities because he's very risk averse. Although in the early going, I thought he looked pretty good. He was very sharp of hand and foot. He always
Build the style,
manages.
baby.
Yeah, he always manages to keep fights very close. Catterall, I've said this before, the Toro McKenna fight and other fights, Barboza, the Josh Taylor one, he just won't put his foot down. Whether it's a conditioning thing, I don't know. We hear he looks $1 million in sparring. I thought the Philly link-up was an interesting move. I wouldn't say it was negative or positive, but early on, I thought it looked very good. But as I said in the chat to the boys, you've got to nail someone like Echo Esserman to get rid of him, because he is literally the engine. He'll just keep coming non-stop all the time. And in the end,
Yeah.
Catterall did nail him. I don't think the referee covered himself in glory, but that was the
Ref
finish
didn't have the
Catterall
best.
needed. No,
The
no.
ref didn't have the best night, perhaps, but we got the natural conclusion to that fight as it was going, perhaps.
Yeah.
There's
And
what
that's the
says-
conclusion we needed. That's the conclusion we needed.
Yeah, he needed an exclamation point. You didn't want
Yeah,
Jack
exactly,
Catterall cruising to another 12-round decision. There's Echo Esserman. I know you're a big fan of him. You correctly pointed out that he starts slowly in these contests. Did he leave it too late? If he'd have stepped on the gas earlier, would it have been a closer fight between him and Catterall, do you think?
I think there's quite a few things with this one. I think Bosey, the type of work that Bosey was doing with Jack, really shone in the first 3 rounds. But we know that Eku doesn't get going till about round 5 or 6. And when Jack dropped him in the third, it was a really good shot he threw. And it kind of woke Esu up. And what that did, that forced Jack back into his natural habitat. Because what happens is everyone reverses to tight when they're under pressure. So in the first 3 rounds, when Jack was comfortable, we got to see the type of stuff that Bosey's installed. But then when he was put under pressure around 4 and 5, we saw Jack go into that reactive counter-puncher style. And that's probably the Jack you're talking about, Rob, where he promises so much, but doesn't always deliver. And I thought there was a big spell in that fight, probably from round 5 to 9, when it all leveled off a little bit. And both kids were marked up. There was a lot of blood. Echo was pressing. He was having a lot of success. And it become the Jack Catterall, no disrespect, that we'd seen a lot under Jamie Moore. You're effective, but you can be got at. And I think Echo was getting at him. Now, to touch on the referee here, I think it was a natural conclusion because Jack was winning the fight and Jack was starting to get to Echo in the championship rounds more than Echo was getting to Jack. But in fights like that, when there's blood and there's guts and they're beating the snot out of each other, referees have to be one big pace away from it because people's eyes can roll, people can sag, and the referee's got to react. And at the time when Echo was sort of pushed to the ground or was shoved, he jumped up naturally because he's a fighter, and the referee wasn't there quick enough. And if he'd have been there quick enough, he'd have put himself between the two kids and he'd have given Echo a little walk around and maybe a couple of minutes to get his act together. As it was, Jack caught him with a couple of shots. The fight resumed. Then Jack clipped him. Now, I'm not saying Jack weren't going to win the fight, but that's unsatisfactory at that level. That's got to be polished up. So I'll say it again. When a fight's that deep, like Parker and Wardley was a few weeks ago, a referee's got to be one pace away just in case someone's eyes roll or their body sags. And he was too far from the action and he couldn't react. And he was slow and he was divery. And I'm not saying Echo would have won that fight, but Echo took punches he didn't have to take. And by the grace of God, when he got clipped at the end, it didn't have a lasting effect. But it was a real unsatisfactory finish and the referee could have been better.
He had his nose split a la Rocky Marciano versus Ezra Charles. It was split down the middle, by the way. And do you think maybe the referee was looking at Emma Bunton? Because I once knew a guy that I went to college with. Emma Bunton's relatives are from Ferns in Wexford, and he had been presented with a photo opportunity with Emma Bunton in her prime as Baby Spice. You're talking Stop Right Now times for the Spice Girls. And this fella got a picture with Emma Bunton where she's cuddled into his chest and he's side by side with her. And in that moment, he got excited, right? So let's say that we keep it PG for the pod. And he got excited. And some lads from Enniscorthy asked him, what did you do when he got excited? And he said some instructions that could have been given to Chris Eubank Jr. tonight. He said, I jabbed her with it. So we're not going to keep this on. We're not going to keep this going too long. We have a big pod tonight. If there's any other listeners that want to jump on and give their opinion on the card, feel free to do so. The StreamYard link is in the chat. I'm going to go quickly around the panel and just get the synopsis on this one. So Justin, what's next? Conor Benn is the victor. Obviously, we have to look at what's next for Conor Benn, as fellas say. What do you think? What do you think is the next move for here? Is it Haney? Is it Mario Barrios? Is it Manny Pacquiao, which is the ghost that many people wanted to feast on? Maybe you get a fucking a rude awakening if he wants to go for the scalp of Manny Pacquiao. But that's the kind of bread that this fella's going to be generating based off of 2 fights at White Hart Lane on the zone. Sold out 120,000 tickets, breaking up 20 million between these guys. He's going to want to get paid for his next outing. What's next for Conor Benn, in your opinion, Justin?
I think that was it. We talked about the Crocker fight, or he was not going to fight Haney. There's no money in that fight. Nobody gives a damn about either one of them. There's no
Hey, shut
money
your
in
mouth.
that.
There's 36 million in that fight over 3
Oh,
fights.
sorry,
What are you talking about?
Yeah, nobody. I mean, so I don't care about that fight. I don't really care to see Ben fight at all. But the Crocker makes sense because I think he would just outbox Crocker. I think he would just be able to outwork him, just do a little bit more, and I think he could steal a title off Crocker. I think that's what they would look for because if he can steal one off of Crocker, that's going to set up huge money fights versus like a Pacquiao. Maybe like if Pacquiao wins his next fight, some kind
Or
of
Paddy Donovan.
crazy
Pacquiao,
ass.
Paddy Donovan. The world
Yeah.
is yours.
Could you imagine the world if Ben beats Crocker and then he has a unification with Pacquiao after he wins his fight? I don't even know what boxing would completely have jumped the shark by then if we get down that road. But yeah, I don't know.
But
Crocker's
this
the
is
one I
sorry,
would go for.
Justin.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. This is so sad and so indicative
Yeah.
of what this has created because you're talking about the IBF welterweight title, and we're trying to find guys like Pacquiao, and you've even got me thinking about maybe Amir Khan or someone like that. This is so bad. This is
It's
not
sad.
good for boxing.
It's sad, and it's gonna. I don't. We always say this about boxing. We know how boxing rolls. It's going to get worse. It's going to get a little bit better. It's going to be bad, good, bad. It's just boxing is like an EKG, up and down, up and down. It's just a fast heart rate. It's just always going to be like that. So we're just going to have to ride this, and then it'll get better. It always does. I mean, I know we keep saying it's going to get worse.
That's the only
We
thing,
always
yeah.
say that, but it always
That's the
gets
only
worse.
thing.
But it'll get better.
As we were battered in this part of the world by Storm Claudia, I think it was it? Well, one of the fucking storms anyway. And face torrential rain and winds and all that. Like you wake up this morning and the sun is shining.
But
Esteemed
Robbie, we've got a brilliant Alexander Usyk at heavyweight. We've got
Mhm.
brilliant lightweights. We've got a fantastic flyweight. We've got brilliant smaller weight guys from Asia. We've got the likes of Abdullah Mason coming through. We've got I've missed a few. We've got Bud Crawford, fighting Canelo. So boxing should be in a good state. So how's this lot coming through?
Who the fuck knows? Riyadh season has a lot to answer for. There's a lot of positives and negatives. Obviously, we got delivered Crawford and Canelo. We got Beterbiev versus Bivol twice since they've been on the scene. We've had Usyk versus Fury twice since they've been on the scene. We've had AJ versus Dubois. There's a lot of big fights that they've been involved in.
Next
But
week's
it
card's
seems like
good, I think. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a great
I think
card,
that
yeah.
I actually want to come to esteemed journalist Steve Wellens on this, by the way, because if there's any justice in the world for me after tonight's fight, Brian Norman rips up the script next week and fucking uppercuts Devin Haney into fucking Riyadh car park, and then we get fucking Brian Norman versus Conor Benn for fucking the 147 title, where Brian Norman comes over here to fucking raise bands and throw hands and fucking beats Conor Benn at Wembley. I don't see that quite playing out. There's a lot of connotations there on 147. Just to finish up this and round it off, because I know we have another pod tomorrow night. Steve, what do you see next for Conor Benn, considering Riyadh seems to be pulling the strings at the moment?
Yeah, considering the what you're saying about Brian Norman's absolutely right. I'd love to see him beat Haney next week, but I just know it's boxing, man. Haney's going to run around for 12 rounds and fiddle him about, and it's not going to happen. We can't have nice things. Haney Benn's been talked about. I know we've mentioned it tonight, but I mean, come on, man. There's levels. I can't stand Haney, but there's levels to that fight. He'd stand Conor Benn on his head. And I've put up a comment here from Raymond
Beat him
Healy.
off the jab alone, wouldn't he?
Well, exactly. Yeah, you just jab away. They say, "Oh, what happens if Conor lands on his chin?" I don't think Haney's chin's that bad, and Conor clearly can't punch since he's come off the roids. Raymond Healy sent a good one in, which I put on the screen. He said about the opinion as to why Eddie Benn keep pushing the Barrios narrative when they could easily throw him in with Crocker. Do they see Barrios as an easier touch? Barrios has a bit of Jack Catterall syndrome for me. He always manages to keep fights close, and sometimes he's rallying at the end to try and keep his titles and stuff. And everyone wants to crack at Barrios. I think Ryan Garcia is talking about fighting him now because they think he's very beatable. And I think Eddie thinks they'll have a chance with that one. Same with Crocker. Ben could outwork Crocker if Crocker stands off like a statue. There is options out there for Ben, providing they're not going to do Eubank 3 again at some kind of different weight and try and change the narrative. But I don't know, to be honest. He throws these names out constantly, Conor Benn, and then he ends up fighting Eubank or somebody else. So it could be Barrios, it could be Crocker. Hopefully not Pacquiao. Could be Haney.
Shakur Stevenson in the mix there somehow. Isn't he?
I wouldn't be surprised, Rob. I would not be surprised, honestly. You can't. I'd laugh at that a few years ago, but Ben has pushed himself through hook or by crook into those conversations, hasn't he? None of those names would surprise me if you thought any of them, including Pacquiao. That is how bonkers this sport has become.
Well, fighting him and beating him is two different things, I guess. As I said to the lads in the group
Yes,
chat, I
yeah,
fancy me misses
exactly. You
against
wouldn't beat any
Conor
of
Benn
them,
if there's no
yeah,
right.
but fight them.
Fancy me misses against Conor Benn if there's no rehydration clause at the weight. Des, quickly, we're gonna quickly go around the houses here. Des, what do you think's next for Conor Benn? Conor Benn's the victor. We're going to assume Chris Eubank retires if there's no round 3,
Yeah.
which we won't be covering. Conor Benn versus Haney, Conor Benn versus Stevenson. Can Conor Benn entice Tank Davis, who's been promised a big
No.
payday,
No.
over to Wembley for a fucking big?
No.
Surely we'd all be back, Team Tank, if that was the case. We'd be carrying little man bags. We'd be rewatching 5 seasons of The Wire. We'd be tattooing our faces potentially to get on Team Tank if Tank versus fucking Conor Benn was in the mix. What do you think is next for Conor Benn?
I think all them guys are on a different planets to Conor Benn, tactically, with regards motor skills, levels. I think Crocker is the closest you're going to get to Conor Benn, and the cherry on the cake is easy to make. It's very insular, and there's an IBF welterweight title involved. That's the one they'll go for. And if you can't do Crocker, you'll do Catterall. But Crocker's the one with a belt, and he's the easier one to fight against. His style suits Ben. I still think Crocker beats Ben, by the way, but that's the one they'll make.
Good shout. Maddie, I would see Jack Catterall or Crocker beating the shit out of Conor Benn, regardless of where you have it in Belfast, Charlie, or the main streets of London. What do you think is next for Conor Benn? Do you think he'll go for an American opponent? I am very intrigued by the 36 million that Turkey has invested in Devin Haney. I can't seem to think that he's going to want to fucking bring Tank in for this, or the Tank will come there for that kind of mediocre bread when he's been promised big money on the Netflix deal. Matty, where do you see Conor Benn going for his next fight, seeing as he's Eddie's golden boy while Ben Whittaker warms up here? Matty's not with us anymore. Justin, what do you think, dude?
Oh shit! What I'm pulling your what about what?
What's next for Conor Benn? Very,
Oh.
very plain and simply.
Oh, I already said earlier. I said a minute ago. Probably Crocker is where I would go, but they'll probably end up trying to wait out for Pacquiao, or hell, they might make Eubank 3. Who the fuck knows what they'll do? Like I said, if I'm him, I go after Crocker because he's, I wouldn't say the easiest, but he's probably the one, his best chance to win a world title. I mean, if you're going to win a world title, you might as well go for it now where you have all the heat.
It's an interesting one because Liam Parrow and Paddy Donovan has already been made as the Mando for that title. So I think Paddy Donovan may have to go to Australia for that one, but that one's been made already. So the winner already.
January the 16th, I think it is, Rob.
It's probably Barrios then.
Winner of that
Rob,
one already fights Paddy Donovan or Parrow. So I don't know. I'm not sure if they want that for Conor Benn.
Donovan Crocker 3, the same night as Ben Eubank 3. The winner fights each other. What about that?
Fucking hell. This time it's personal.
Robbie, Conor Benn is swimming amongst some killers at 140 and 54. You know, he don't want to go down or up. He don't want the ones to come up from downstairs to come upstairs because there's some really good fighters.
At 54 because you imagine him against Jerome.
Forget about it. 54 is a good weight, isn't it? At the moment, actually, to be fair,
it's really good.
It's a great weight. It's a great weight in terms of talent, but in terms of fucking Conor Benn for competing
versus
at
Fundora.
Yeah,
Conor, and even the guys who are making up the numbers at 54 would clean Conor Benn's clock.
They're clean him out. Yeah, they clean him out.
So I think all those guys would kill
I think the place for Conor
Murtazaliev,
Zoo, 47, Rob.
Fundora.
No, he won't go there.
Ortiz, he's not going to be there. He's going to go to 47, isn't he? He's trying to get his world title. He's going
to hang around at 47, and I think Eddie's options are. He's got Catterall's phone number. He's got Lewis Crocker's phone number. It's easy to make. If you can sell Conor Benn in London, bring them over. If there's a world title involved, it just becomes easy to do. and there's a chance you can get Conor over the line. And I think that's what you got to do with Conor Benn, because you like essentially like you ain't got to tell Eddie about boxing. Eddie and Barry know boxing; they know levels. I mean, they know there's a very low ceiling to Conor Benn's skill set. So it's about getting the right guy, and also you got to factor in the money Conor's had. Conor
Can we get
wants
a
to be
Carlo
paid.
out, Stage? Do you think that can we get one of the
Nah,
Carlos out?
nah, nah. They've got no.
Al's
Eddie's
not
got
letting that happen, is he?
nah,
Maybe if they've been on the
nah.
piss for 2 years.
All right, folks. I think we've over covered that fucking absolutely horrific fight, and we're gonna have to go and do it all again tomorrow. Thanks a million to anybody that jumped on the post fight pod. We had hoped, before we planned to do the post fight pod, that this fight would be more entertaining and it wouldn't be a cash grab where the two of these fuckers rob the bank. They might as well have put fucking the Hamburglar outfits on the two of them tonight, a mask and a strike jumper, where they weighed off with fucking 20 million each, like at our expense. Well, at some of our expense, those who don't watch the fights on the Inferno twig. But listen, we'll see you back here tomorrow for episode, I think it's 6:40, all the Asylum, Matty, DG, and Leonardo back in the hosting duties. I've been Rob Kelly. This has been the post-fight pod for Eubank Ben 2. The rematch, this time it's personal, and Emma Bunton was there. Good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.